Hi, scrapping friends. It's Ginger from GingerScraps again. Welcome back to my digital scrapbooking on the iPad with Affinity Photo 2 series. That is a mouthful. If you've been following along, you already know how to set up your iPad. You know how to gather your scrapbooking supplies, and now it is time to get organized. In this lesson, lesson 3, I'll show you how to organize your digital scrapbooking kits using the Files app on your iPad. You'll learn my personal folder system and how to tag your kits for easy searching. A few of these tips will save you a lot of time later when you're ready to create. It's pretty frustrating when you go to make a page and you cannot find anything you're looking for, or you have to jump through so many different folders to find what you want. That can also be pretty annoying. So this is how I set up my personal supply. You obviously do not have to do it just like me. If you're not interested in this at all, feel free to skip this lesson completely, but you might learn a thing or two while you watch it. So where we left off in lesson number 2 was in our downloads folder. We just unzipped the products that we purchased today, which are these 3 folders right here, separated into elements. Look at all this cute stuff. Such cute stuff in this kit. In the Elements folder, you usually will have a product preview, and then it has the pattern paper folder and the solid folder. You can also always find the terms of use for the designer, the product that you've downloaded. Always a good idea to take a look at that. We sell most of our scrapbooking kits are for personal use only. They're not for making commercial use products. We do have a commercial use section in the store. If you are in the business of creating art that you sell, then go ahead and check that out. But for personal use scrapbooking, anything in the store can be used for personal use scrapbooking. Everything, personal use, commercial use, any of it can be used for your personal scrapbooking. So you don't really need to worry. If you're just scrapping for yourself, go wild. So anyways, this is how I have mine set up. These locations over here will be the default locations that come in your iPad. Mine, I have the iCloud drive, which is what I use things on my actual iPad, the hard drive of my iPad, and a recently deleted folder. Now, down below this is your favorites bar. It's a drop-down menu in this bar. You can see that I can toggle that up and down. And I have created these folders myself and named them as favorites so that I always know this is right where they are. Downloads is the first one, which is the folder that we're in right now. This is my new and needs organized folder. I do not have anything in there right now. But sometimes if I want to keep organized, I will grab these new and need organized items and drop them into this new and needs organized folder. Keep in mind that when you drag things out of the downloads folder, it will still keep a copy of them in the downloads folder. So you'll need to manually delete those. Now I have these 3 folders in new and needs organized, and I will go ahead and grab that Miss Fish template in my new and needs organized and put that in there. Now I have all of my new and needs organized, that's a mouthful also, in this one folder. And I can come over here and I can delete these. So I don't have them just redundantly taking up space that I don't need. So how did I make this new and need organized folder? Maybe you don't know how to do that at all. On my iCloud drive right here or on my iPad, either of those places, you can make folders. What you do is simply right click and say new folder. Then you can give it a name. And there it is, your new folder. Now you can right click that folder right here and you can tell it to go to your favorites. And now I have this new folder that we just named name in my favorites bar. If I don't want it in my favorites anymore, I can say Remove from sidebar. Now it is no longer in my favorites. My iCloud was doing that little symbol just to show that it wasn't syncing for the moment, but now it's back. So if you ever see that, it means that it's maybe your internet connection is slow or you're not currently connected to the internet, it's not syncing. So now in my new and needs organized folder, I have the products that I just downloaded. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this folder right here by right-clicking on it and saying rename. I'm going to delete the EP, which is her element folder. So it will just be called April Lisa Panda Dreams. Some people like to put at the beginning of their folder name the store that they purchased it at. So they would put like GS for GingerScraps, GS April Lisa Panda Dreams. So then they will know in their stash that's a product they got from GingerScraps. Why that helps them sometimes is for different challenges at a specific site. So if they have other stores they buy, they'll put an abbreviation for the store name, like in front of the designer's name. I don't personally need to do that, but it is an option for your organizing. But I do always make sure that I keep the designer name. If for some reason you get a download, some stores or sources online don't have their own folder naming system. So you might download a folder and it's just called PNG files or something really random. You don't want to leave it named that. That's going to cause you so much frustration. Make sure that you rename it to most helpful will be either the store name, then the designer name, then the product name. That's the usual naming system that people like. So now I have this one folder that I renamed called Panda Dreams right there. I'm going to open up this folder. I'm going to take all of these items. I am going to, you can select and then select them all like that. See how they all have check marks on them? And then I'm going down here to move. And then I know this is in my new and needs organized, and I'm going to put it in this newly created folder. Now that pattern is empty. I will do the same thing with the solids. Select, select all, move over to this Panda Dreams kit. Now these two folders have 0 in them. I can delete them. And I have this one Panda Dreams kit with everything in it, all of the elements, the pattern paper, and the solid papers. It will give you copies of things that are duplicated, so I just delete them. You don't have to, you can do this however you see fit, obviously. I go ahead and keep the notes in each of the kits. Some people don't. I always do because I want to be able to reference it if necessary. Now for me, what I like to do, because I want to have a picture of what I'm looking at right next to the folder, I will copy that picture. This is the product preview right here. Right click, copy it, go over to the main folder and paste it. And then I make sure it has the same name. So I want to rename this. I want to copy that. And then I want to rename this. And I will paste. So now these two, this folder with all the supplies in it and this preview both have the same exact name. Now I can move them to a couple different places. I can move them to GingerScrap on my iPad, which are items that I do not have on my cloud. These are all stored on my iPad. These are GingerScrap on my cloud. So this is something I can access from anywhere. I keep my templates on my cloud because I still like to use those on my iPad. But I have switched over all my personal scrapbooking to my iPad. So I keep my own personal scrapbooking supplies on this folder called GingerScrap on iPad that I created following the steps I showed you earlier. So now I'll grab these, go to select and select them both, and I will move them into GingerScrapping on my iPad. Click move. And now they will be located there. Here they are right here. There's the folder, and that's a product preview of what's in the folder. The reason I like to have a preview next to it is because if it's just a whole bunch of folders, then I have to open the folder, find the preview, open it up to find out what it is. I like to just have, oh, this mouse. I like to just have the view like this, so then I can see, okay, Panda Dreams, what did that, was that? I can double click on that there. So now we have it right there in with my scrapping supplies, and I have a pretty hefty folder of scrapping supplies on my iPad. It's a pretty big. I have a 2 terabyte iPad and then a 2 terabyte iCloud. So, you don't need to have this many on your iPad. If you have less storage than that, absolutely don't worry about it. But I have lots of space, so I'm using it. Now we're going to put this template in the templates for iCloud folder. That's where I keep my templates. So it's already named how I want it to. The Miss Fish, that's her abbreviation for her designer name. And then this is the name of the collection, that. And then it's the PSD and TIF file formats. So I'm perfectly happy with that naming. Like I said before, if you want to put the shop name ahead of it, you'll rename it to put that in front, or however, the naming system that you like. So I went into this folder to show you what it looks like. Each template will have, for this particular folder, will have the JPEG, which is the flattened image, the PSD, which is a layered file, and the TIF, which is a layered file. You really can use either one of those. It's recommended mostly online from research I've done to use the PSD. They say that transfers over with the least amount of trouble. But I've used plenty of TIFs and I haven't found any problem. I'm just telling you, online they really tell you PSD is preferable. So that's the advice. So now I'm copying that image. I'm going to paste it here. And I will do the same thing with rename, copy that, and then rename this. I know this video might be a little boring, but it might help you. So, figured I'd show you. So now I will select both of them, move those to my templates on the iCloud. For some reason that's saying copy instead of move. Oh, because it's on the iCloud, that's why. Because GingerScrapping on the iPad, it'll just move it there. But since this is my iCloud, it moved it over to my iCloud, and it will leave a copy of it on my iPad. I can delete it off my iPad now if I want to, and it will be only on my iCloud. I'm going to move these around a little bit so that they're easier to find for the class purposes. So I will probably make my own little folder that says Affinity Photo class, and I'll put that template and this kit in there so that I can easily find them just for this class. But now you know how I generally organize my scrapbooking supplies. The other thing I want to cover with real quick are tags. So I use tags to help me find what I want. So, oh, I'm obsessed with a Wicked. I don't really remember. I guess I have quite a few Wicked kits. I didn't even really remember that. So these are all my Wicked. I labeled them with a green dot. And when I want to find Wicked stuff, I can find and go right into that the tag right there. So these are all Ocean Summer Lake products. Some of them are both more than one thing. So this one is Ocean Summer Lake and Disney. You can tell it's Disney because it has a red dot. And it is a Little Mermaid kit. It's so cute. Starting to get a little sleepy, so sorry if my voice sounds tired. So the way you tag is like this. I will show you. We can go to this one that we just we just downloaded, and I highlighted both of them and I right-clicked. Now, if you're not using a mouse, I'm going to do this with my finger because you just long press, okay? That's it. So you just long press and it brings up tag. Because I know most people don't have a mouse. I'm only using it for the tutorial. I never use it unless I'm using tutorials. So we'll make a new tag and we'll call it Affinity Class. And we'll tag it with purple. So now this, I'll go back to my mouse. This kit right here is a purple, tagged with a purple dot, Affinity Class. And we'll do the same thing to this. Tag, add it to the Affinity Class. Okay, so now those are both, I'm pointing to my screen and you can't see, that's why I have a mouse. These are both in the Affinity class tag. So now I can go find that template, and it was by Miss Fish. I'm going to go over to New Needs Organized because it might be a little bit time consuming to find it. And I will select those, right click, tag, or, press if you're not using a mouse, put it in the Affinity Photo class. So now in my Affinity Photo class folder tagged with Affinity Photo, I have the kit and the template that we're going to be using when we jump into scrapbooking. Hopefully that is all of the tips that I had for you on organizing and tagging with keywords on your iPad. Hopefully these will help you remember where things are. You'll be able to easily find them. Things will be organized. Sometimes you'll have a kit. I'll show you one example real quick. That is very large. Like, let's take, for example, this kit from Amy. This kit probably had 4 different downloads for the elements. And it had these borders and alphabets and papers and word art and so much great stuff. I do leave the alphabets in their own folder when it's in a collection like that, including an alphabet, because I don't want this whole folder full with letters that I have to scroll through. So I do have all the collections of alphabets in their own folder within that collection. But you can see that this is a fairly big kit, and now it's all in this one folder. So I don't have to jump around from element folder 1, element folder 2, element folder 3 to try to find what I want. I also have the glitters separated into this little folder because we're not going to really use glitter styles in Affinity. But you can still use little pieces of glitter to clip on, like, little pieces of paper or whatnot. So anyways, that's an example of why I put everything into one kit, because it's really annoying to like bounce around to all 3 folders. So if we're scrapbooking, remember how when we originally downloaded this, it had three different folders, which some, like I said, some folders, some products will come with like 15 downloads. So you'll have 15 zips that you have to, oh, is this item in the zip, element folder 1, element folder 2, element folder 3. You have to keep going back and forth, back and forth. It can be, I don't know. I don't like to waste a bunch of my scrapbooking time trying to find what I'm looking for. So having it all like this is very convenient. And I highly suggest taking the time to organize so you don't want to pull your hair out. Okay, so for the next, that concludes lesson 3. So now you have all your iPads, all of your products downloaded on your iPad, organized and ready to go. And you have Affinity Photo settings all optimized and ready to scrapbook. So we are ready to create our first page. I am so excited. This is the part I love the most. I am not going to do it tonight because now it is 1 a.m. and my iPad's at 17% and I am sleepy. But I will hopefully in the next week have time to record lesson 4, where we are going to dive in and start scrapbooking. So I'm so excited for that. If you found this lesson helpful, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next videos. Make sure you tell your friends. I want everybody to have the joy of scrapbooking. It's so fun. I love digital scrapbooking. It is my passion. Don't forget to visit GingerScraps. And like I always say, you can find us on GingerScraps, form the gallery. You can send me a DM there. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. You can reach out anytime. I am always around. I'm just a message away. If you have any questions, let me know. Until next time, happy organizing and happy scrapping. See you soon. Bye.